Hello, everybody. Welcome, and thank you for tuning in to Just Bleed Radio. Today is Sunday, September 7th, 2025, and this is the Weekend Roundup. Combat connoisseurs, fight fanatics, the bleeders. It is I, Lazy Le Pure, and this is the Weekend Roundup from JBR. Is that racist? I promise that wasn't racist. I promise. I was just imitating.
The French are offended. No one cares.
I'm just imitating a cartoon, guys. Anyways, enough of that. How the hell are you, folks? Welcome to the Weekend Roundup. I am your boy, LazyBed, and thank you so much for being here. This is the 67th edition of the program, and we are joining you live and direct after a fantastic night of fights in Gay Paris, France. Plenty to discuss from a fun card. We had middleweight title stakes. We had big name debutantes. We had Wars of Nations. This one had it all. Now, I know you know the routine, but I'll remind you, like I always do, give the video a thumbs up, a sub to the channel, and if you haven't already, ring that bell for notifications so every time we're here, you can be here too. With that out of the way, allow me to bring in the other two musketeers, your friends and my co-hosts. Now, one of them is a real true blue Englishman with a taste for American whiskeys and Caribbean rums. We got to get this channel monetized ASAP because he's about to go broke from stocking his liquor cabinet. It's my mate, DM, DangerMouse. How we living, brother?
I'm pretty good. A mouseketeer, I guess, for this one. I've got a beer and Moretti, which Christian Gielan approved last night. And I do indeed have a bottle of Jim Beam Double Oak by my side as well. So who knows where this card could go. Yeah, it was fun. I enjoyed the card. Going to enjoy doing the show, I'm sure. I'll shut the fuck up now.
It should be a good time. It was a fun card, and I think we're going to have a lot of fun today. And the other person that's going to have fun with us, the other donk, he is the hardest working man in combat sports media. And I don't mean the actual media work. I mean he's busting his ass with his hands every day that are getting more callous than Michael Chandler's father. He leaps tall cans in a single bound. He's our very own Superman. It's no special. What's good, Austin?
I'm good, man. I'm good. I enjoyed the fights. Had a great weekend, and I'm ready to talk fights. It's been a minute. Let's get going.
It was a fucking fun time. Always is in Paris. Yeah, and it's great as always to have you both riding alongside. And there's no place in the world that I'd rather be right now. So with that out of the way, it's time to get into some fight talk. And we are going to start off with the main card opener, which was originally slated to be a prelim. However, thanks to my boy Losine Keita missing weight, this one finds itself elevated to priority billing. Is a featherweight matchup between a French fighter who can lull you to sleep and one of four debuting fighters of the afternoon. 14-3, William Gomis took on 11-1 Robert Ruschala. The Polish fighter Ruschala, coming out of KSW, was entering off of a win in his last fight back in November of 24. Gomis took a split decision L to Haider Emil in his most recent bout this past March. And I called it, although it didn't take a savant to predict it, I said this one would be the one to crush our momentum and bring the fun times to a screeching halt. Maybe that's a bit harsh of a claim, but Gomis gonna go me. The Frenchman wins, and he finds himself winning by another forgettable decision, edging out my Polish pal Ruschala. I personally didn't have any issue with the decision going the way it went, but I will say unanimous 30-27s across the board seemed to be a bit nuts to me. I felt like you had to somebody had to give Ruschala one of those rounds in there somewhere. But nevertheless, setting my thoughts aside, let's get it to you fellas. DangerMouse, I'm going to ask you to go first today, so hopefully you haven't imbibed too many of them spirits yet. Did you have any thoughts or observations on this one? I'm praying that whatever you've got to say is more entertaining than the fight was.
Yeah, well, first thing I'll pull you up before I forget. The result I have for this fight is 30-27, 29-28, and 29-28. So two judges did give Ruschala rounds. But I can't say I was surprised by this result because it was what I predicted on Tapology. It was a shame that the rush of finishers had to end, but it did. Gomes is a very decent kickboxer. He's fast, he has good hands, and he has decent kicks. And if you allow him to fight at the range he wants to, you need to be a much better striker than Ruchala is. Obviously, Gomes must have spent some time at the John Jones School of Eye Pokes. We had another bad reffing moment because Gomes clearly threw his fingers out. And Bisping was saying it can happen, and I guess it probably can. I've never actually thrown a punch at the guy in a cage, so I can't say for myself. But it should still have been a point taken away, and then we would have ended up with a majority draw for this fight, which probably would have been more accurate. Gomes did. I think Gomes did enough to win it, but yeah, I think if the foul had happened, a draw would have been nice, and it would have been almost better than the result that we ended up with after all those knockouts. I can't say it was a bad fight because lots happened, but it wasn't a particularly fun fight for me. Slowed things down after all those KOs, as I just said in the prelims. Yeah, can't really say much. Well done, William Gomes. Unsurprising win from you. I won't remember this fight come next week. So yeah.
Oh, you are right too. That dead wrong was correct. I don't know where I got that unanimous 30-27. I think it was somebody's tweet that was incorrect, but I'm going to blame them and not blame myself. Fuck that. But you are right. You are right. Yeah, I see those cards now. It's William Gomes, man. He's kind of like, I don't want to call him a point fighter because that's not exactly his style, but that's kind of his style. He's just sort of one of those guys where like he fights to score and not really get hit, and that results in quite often not very entertaining fights. Boring decisions that can kind of go either way, and I just don't know, man. He's got a pretty solid record that he's strung together in the UFC, but he seems to me like to be one of those kind of guys that's like a fringe guy that they may cut at any given time, even though he's got a good record in the promotion, just because you're not providing that entertainment that Dana loves. So
he's going to become the featherweight Bilal, the name. If he's not careful.
Yeah, I guess, yeah. He's kind of already on his way to it. Speaking of Bilal, a man that had Bilal in the draft, Mr. No Special, I know you definitely got an opinion on this one, right? Right? You got to have an opinion on this one. I felt like there was like a void in the space-time that sucked the fun right out of the arena when this fight came on. So how did you view Gomes versus Rashala?
Well, I didn't hate the fight, and I don't know what that's supposed to mean. Like, I thought it was a pretty... I mean, to be fair, this is me... I think I sent a meme in the chat where I was, like, saying I was late for work because I didn't realize the fights were live. Because, I forgot they were in France, because God forbid. Watching the fight, because you're looking at Gomes and thinking, like, you know what? He could just do a little more. He could just do a little more, and he could probably take the momentum in the fight willingly. But he didn't need to. Rashala was just kind of like giving him a majority of the exchanges because he's not as good as a kickboxer or point fighter as Gomes. He's just not as disciplined in the stand-up. Matter of fact, the only time that I remember, and I may be wrong on this because I'm just recalling it, the one time that I thought Rashala had a chance was when he had Gomes hurt with like a head kick, and Gomes was kind of like slanging and banging, which is not his traditional style. Like he had him and he was landing on him in the third, but like he waited until the third when he was already losing by 2 rounds because he gave a majority of the exchanges up to Gomes because he couldn't reach him. He also struggled in the takedown department, and it's not like Gomes is this explosive like power striker. No, he's just a guy who's just going to bat you from the outside. He might accidentally poke you in the eye, but he's going to keep you a disciplined game plan and not really put himself out there to get hit. That's what he does. He's really good at it. You have to put him out of his comfort zone in order to get him to exchange and possibly open up for counters, because that's the only way Rashala actually had a chance. Gomes is going to do his thing. I'm not going to be mad at him for making a quote unquote less exciting fight, but that's on the opponent to actually push the game to get your opponent out of their comfort zone and open up their offense so that you can counter them. That's the idea, right? It was unfortunate. I thought it was a decent fight. Gomes is kind of like this guy you put in France, and he's going to sell well, but he's not going to be a guy you put on a pay-per-view at least anytime soon, which is fine. I mean, hey, we're not selling pay-per-views anymore, so we'll be fine.
Yeah, I mean, you can't knock his style and his tactics. It is successful. You can look at the numbers and see that it's working for him, but it just sucks that, you could kind of predict going into one of his fights more or less the tempo and the rhythm of the fight and how it's going to play out. And that works against him because I don't think there's a lot of people anticipating a William Gomis fight, despite how good he seems to be.
Yeah. Probably just William Gomis. That's the only person who'll look forward to Gomis fight.
Yeah, probably true. All right. Well, from one debutante to another, this one going down at welterweight, we had a little bit of France versus Ireland action. Next up, when UFC newcomer Axel Sola took on the resurgent Rhys McKee. Sola was a relatively unknown but also undefeated prospect who had seen 6 of his 10 career wins come via finish, with the most recent being in June. Here he would make his entrance into the promotion up a weight class from his usual 155, and on short notice at that. McKee, a former Cage Warriors champ, had gone winless in the promotion prior to his last fight against Daniel Frunza back in April, where he finally got on the winning side. An interesting pairing here, as Sola basically is who McKee was when he first entered the UFC. He's a young, untested, but talented fighter looking to make a name for himself. Well, young fella, that's the way you fucking do it, buddy. This one was basically the definition of a mixed martial arts fight, I thought. These guys used all the tools, they used all the tactics, and they both had to dig deep. I found myself quite thoroughly entertained, to be frank. Also thoroughly impressed with Axel Sola, who, despite being clearly outsized, did manage to not only weather McKee's onslaught, but he answered, and he answered in devastating fashion. Axel managed to hurt Rhys and seal the deal with some shots on the ground, but it was really them big, beautiful body shots that ended this one, and that's a Lazy and DangerMouse special, baby. That's what that is. But even though this is one of Mouse and I's favorite ways to see a fight end, we're going to go to you first, Austin. Like I said, I personally found this fight very entertaining, but discuss the fight as a whole, and what did you think of the newcomer, Axel Sola?
Well, to be fair, I was actually surprised that they said this was his first fight at welterweight. I think is what. No, I don't know if it was his first fight, but he was a lightweight before this, and seeing him as a welterweight, I was like, damn, he's thin as a fucking welterweight. He's also tall as shit. I'm looking at Rhys McKee. I'm like, I already know this dude's tall and lanky. He's big for the weight class, but you look at Axel Sola, I'm like, I don't know if you should have been a lightweight, because there's a couple of guys at lightweight who are really tall and big, and they probably should have been welterweights. I don't know. That's a conversation for a different day. But no, this was a fight of the night, honestly, and you could have argued despite the technical fight that was the main event, this was an old school hey, these two dudes are just going to leave it all out there and they're not going to fucking back down. I mean, they literally just were trading willingly and constantly in the pocket. And that was something I was not expecting, because I had, again, like you said, he's a debutant. I hadn't really seen a lot of his fights. I just kind of knew that he was a decent fighter. Seeing it in practice was actually something to get me excited about this guy's future, because he looked like he just was I'm here to make a point. I'm new to this organization, but I'm going to go out there and beat the shit out of this guy in front of me. And I don't care how hard he hits. I'm going to fucking hit him back. Because there's points where you can see Sola not sell the punches well, because he would counter Rhys and Rhys would counter him with a good counter, right? And you could see his head go and turn, and he didn't really react well to some of the shots. And I think that's, like you said, Rhys being a bigger guy, but then he'd come right back and counter with a fucking 1-2 and then look to get to the body. And that was the thing. I was like, okay, Rhys is taking the shots, and he's kind of not muscling Sola around, but he's doing the thing where he's okay, I had it go 1-1 going into the third. And I thought Sola was winning the third, but Reese could have just taken the momentum back because both of these guys were like neck and neck throughout the entirety of the fight. Now, my issue is that the finish I felt was a little soon. Now, not usually the first. I'm usually the opposite of this, right? And I'll be honest. I felt this could have gone on a little longer just because the punch came. He's reacting. He's trying to defend himself and move. And it's not like he's sitting there eating like 1,000 shots. He's like getting, beat on a little bit. But I felt the minute that the first, like that knockdown came and you see him react and you're like, shit. He's still moving. And I'm not going to say that there was a handful of these. Like, I mean, it happened to Tavares too, but like that's another story. I think you could have given the benefit of the doubt to Reese and allowed him to go through, but it is what it is. It was a fair shot. It wasn't a low blow. It was a body shot that dropped him, and Reese had to kind of survive. The ref thought it was enough for this fight to be stopped, and it is what it is. Sola looks like a guy who's capable. He's probably a dude who would be perfect for 165. Again, another reason why I want that fucking division to be in this, organization. They have enough guys in both weight classes. But hey, that's, again, neither here nor there. Great fight. We're happy for Sola. Sucks for Reese.
Yeah, I hadn't even thought of that 165. That is a good point that I haven't really heard anyone bring up because he's a big fucking guy for lightweight because he didn't look too undersized at welterweight. Now, granted, Reese is he's a big welterweight. He's a tall, pretty solid, thick welterweight. And you could tell that Sola was smaller than him, but not too bad. So down at 155, I mean, he's going to look huge. I watch a ton of regional MMA, a lot of, from overseas, different areas. I'm not going to lie. I had never seen this guy fight. I had never watched him compete. So I wasn't sure exactly what kind of style he was going to bring. But I was fucking impressed with this guy, man. I think you hit a lot of really good points there, Austin. And it's going to be pretty cool to see him going forward. Tough scenes for Reese, who he's had a really bad run in the UFC. And he's kind of one of those guys that gets lumped into the category of cage warriors, fighters, and former champions that come over. And they just kind of get exposed when they get to the UFC. But he's kind of worked with the brass there, so I think that we might see him back at least one more time. Wouldn't be surprised to see that. But yeah, watching Axel Sola moving forward, that's going to be a guy to keep an eye on, definitely, because he's young, he's talented, and he seems to have good ideas in the cage. I like the way that he moved and the combos and the things that he put together. An intelligent fighter. But all right, now you, DangerMouse, blistering fucking body blows, buddy. Hit us with your thoughts on the W for Sola, and what do you got to say for the former Hamzat victim, Reese McKee?
A lot of good stuff covered by Austin there. Now, on this one, I always say to go with the O, but I actually thought that Reese McKee might just be able to survive some kind of early flurry, lose the first round, and then come back in rounds 2 and 3. And he'd use all of his cage experience to get a win. And we did see some really creative striking from him when he was being held up against the cage. He was punching same arm kind of thing underneath the body and elbows from there. The commentary team were talking about it. And there's absolutely no quitting Skeletor. That's the one thing you can say about him. But unfortunately, in this case, Herb Dean was more than happy to step in and stop the fight. I thought it was pretty bad stoppage. But it was, as you said, a beautiful body punch to do it with. We both love body punches. I will give it, in fairness to Herb, he did see Reese drop. He probably wasn't that well positioned to see what was happening to his face. And I guess moving around, he missed him grabbing his leg. But yeah, when you see the fighter drop from a shot, that always looks bad. Not the worst moment in Herb's history, but it certainly adds to that list. And I think there's another one where he's going to add another one to it later in the evening. But yeah, Axel Sola. I thought at first it was a really, really cool name. And then I realized that Arsehole and Axel Sola could very easily be linked together in an English way. But no, amazing young guy. All compliments to him for beating Reese McKee, because that guy is a tough old boot, very experienced. But yeah, as you said, he's just not quite at the level for UFC. Cage Warriors guy, wherever he came from. So yeah, great comments by Austin and yourself. And yeah, I can't add anything else to this one.
Yeah, I mean, I could see some people kind of slightly objecting to that stoppage, but at the same time, when you get hit to the body like that and it cripples you in that manner, that's not something that just goes away within a few seconds.
No.
So that was going to continue to plague him for some time there, and it probably would have only got worse. So it was a questionable stoppage because it's Herb, and Herb, he's so inconsistent. It's like 1 minute he's letting fights go super long, the next minute he's jumping in way before he should. So I could see it being a problem because it was Herb, but had that been a referee who more consistently stopped fights when they should be stopped, it's not terrible. It wasn't going to get any better for him, in my opinion.
No, probably not.
All right, well, we'll move along. Next up, we had ourselves a scrap at 155. Oh, boy, did we. Two tough lightweights looking to continue their winning ways. Balaji Oki found himself all set to take on Mason Jones in what would end up being a pretty goddamn fun fight. This one was a roller coaster of emotions. Oki entered this fight at 10-2 and 29 years of age. His last fight, a bounce-back win against Michael Aswell back in May. Mason Jones came in 16-2 and 30 years of age, also competed in May when he made his UFC debut in a war against Jeremy Stevens. It was Wales versus Belgium in this absolute cracker. And, fellas, we all know it. Lazy loves his Valley Boys. Lazy loves them Valley Boys. Wales triumphs over Belgium in a true war of attrition. Despite nearly finding himself on Dream Street in the first, Jones digs deep into his intestinal fortitude and finds a way to grit and claw his way to a win in the second. Once the tank had been emptied by Oki, it was just an avalanche coming down the mountain on behalf of Jones there. Gorgeous, brutal, violent fucking ground and pound elbows. TKO finish for the Welshman. Mason fucking Jones, DangerMouse, petitioned to rename this guy Timex. He takes a licking and he keeps on ticking, baby. A hell of a fight though from a guy who he's as tough as shoe leather to steal something that you were just saying. I do fear if he keeps fighting in this fashion, someone's gonna shut his lights out soon. It's you can only hold up that kind of a fighting style for so long. But what did you see in this bonus winning performance?
Oh wow, this was Rourke's Drift 2.0, Jones versus Zulu Warrior. Early on, first 30 seconds, Jones gets hit, drops. Look, he's like he's been stabbed by an assegai spear. Not a fatal wound, though. It's just the first push. And Jones rallies with a bayonet stab of his own. Gets the fight to the ground, almost gets a Kimura, but Oki grits it out with just pure strength. That was very, very impressive. But Jones was just dominant on the ground. So I guess Welsh wrestling is coming on these days. Then round two, we had those back-to-back spin elbows. I think it was Zulu that threw the first one, and Jones immediately replied with it. Then managed to grab hold of him, tosses him aside, which was showing his judo skills. I didn't realize he was an ex-judoka himself, and he called it out in the post-fight thing with it. It was the national sport of France is judo. So yeah, he used a uranagi to get the takedown. Look it up. I have to. I think rear throw, I believe it's called in English. Gets mount, and then it's front rank fire, middle rank fire, third rank fire, as he pounded down elbows and just forced the referee to stop it. Just an amazing performance by Mason Jones. Love that fight. All credit to Oki, tough as they come as well. But yeah, really, really pleased to see a Welshman. He's a UK guy. We love all our UK guys. He's a Brit. I should say more accurately.
He's so fucking fun to watch, man. Like, only 2 fights in the UFC, and I remember both of them very vividly. Like, one of them guys where he is appointment viewing, and but like I said, I do worry about his chin and his durability and his constitution going forward, because you can only be in so many of these wars. Like he wins in very fun fashion, but he does not win easily, and it's 155, man. There's a lot of killers here, and you're going to need to develop the defensive game a little bit more.
Yeah, toughing it out is never a good idea. Although he did say afterwards, obviously, I don't know how true it was. He said that the punch hadn't hit him that hard. He was off balance, and that was why he fell down. I don't think Bisping believed him. I think he even commented about it afterwards. But yeah. Love seeing Mason Jones. He's a really, really impressive fighter.
I like you pointing out those judo throws too, because I forgot to mention them, and I recall as I was watching the fight, I was like, oh my god, like that was a fucking nice, like not just a technique throw, but that was violent. Like he did that with some force. It was pretty cool.
I sure did. Well, I did. We did have that Sunday night scuffle a little while back where I said that judo needs to be the next trick that people need to add to their skill set, and there we saw it.
Yeah,
and we've seen quite a bit of it recently as well.
About to see some more of it soon. If I get my girl Kayla Harrison in there, let's go.
Yeah.
All right. Well, same thing to you, No Special. How much did you love this fight, one? And then two, what did you think of the Mason Jones comeback here, pulling the fucking irons out of the fire, however you want to say it? And then third, I guess if you want to touch on too, what could you have done differently if you were Borralho?
Well, let me tackle the last one first, I guess. It is every fighter's, instinct to want to get to the finish when they hurt their opponent, especially early in a fight, because I think it was like their second or third exchange that he actually landed on Jones. And Mason's credit, he kept his cool. He might have been, definitely on his queer street, but he kept his cool, and I give him credit for that. Oki is that guy who I don't want to say he's a front runner, but you look at him and you can tell, like, oh yeah, he's used to like getting the finish pretty quick. I mean, it's shown in his last couple of fights, and I kind of figured, okay, well, if he catches Mason Jones right off the bat and he stays on him, doesn't let him to kind of squirm away, he should find the finish. The problem is that you forget Mason Jones is a tough son of a bitch. And to his credit too, he kept it, the fight standing at points, and then he said, all right, well, now it's my turn, and then just would land elbows and back fists, and then all of a sudden as he gets that throw, you could see Oki like look up into the ceiling and just go, oh shit. And Mason is just landing the elbows because like the way the fight started, you're like, okay, this isn't going to last very long, to where we ended up in the first round. You're like, oh shit, this is a fight. Sure enough, it continued in the second, and you see Mason just like, all right, now I got an idea what to do. And then he just didn't let Oki get away with it. He just stayed on him, didn't give him a whole lot of space, just made sure to like keep the pressure going even after he got the takedown. And you could tell Oki was just like not used to this, and you could see Oki kind of like not panic, especially after that Kimura lock that was attempted on him. You could see he's like, okay, I've been here before, but I have not been in this position before, and you could see not panic, but Mason Jones just landing on him just made him had to squirm. The ref basically jumped in. That's an appropriate stoppage. It wasn't like you could see Oki just getting bludgeoned to death. He's just getting hit and has nowhere to go. And that was like, and that's what you want. You don't need to kill your opponent. You don't need to finish your opponent. You need to make sure that they cannot go anywhere when you are landing clean shots, because the minute they start covering up, that means it's over. The ref has to step in. The ref calls it. That's a perfect stoppage. That's what you want. You don't need guys to take unnecessary damage, although you probably could have stopped it a little sooner, but that's neither here nor there. And again, Mason's a tough son of a bitch. He's what lightweight is, where you're like, you can never count a guy out, even if he gets knocked down in the first round and barely survives, comes back and finishes the fucking guy in the second. That's what lightweight is. And great fight. It's a great fight. Comeback for sure of the year. One of the, or no, I don't know. It's up there though. It's up there for sure.
That's a great fucking point, because that rings so true in so many other divisions not being the way lightweight is. Like at 205, at heavyweight, at maybe even certain guys at middleweight, like you're going to come across guys that aren't going to weather that storm and come out the other side and continue like whipping your ass. Like they're gonna turtle up, they're gonna look for the exit, they're gonna find a way out, and they're gonna call it a day. But at fucking lightweight, man, these guys they got like a fucking gumption to them where they're just willing to fucking wade through the fire and come out the other side and fucking do exactly what we seen Mason Jones do yesterday. And again, nothing that you can really harp too much on Borralho for, but I hope that this is a lesson for him, and I hope that going forward he learns, there's guys out there that they've got fucking turtle shells for heads, and I'm going to have to really pace myself and conserve my fucking my bursts and my strength and my those moments where you're really expending that energy. Like you've got to properly pace that. You've got to be conservative in the moments where you need to be conservative, and don't always chase that finish, because this fight could have gone completely differently had he have not blown his fucking load, chasing that finish in the first. But, all credit to Mason Jones who showed, that extra little bit of veteran savvy to be like, nah, I can withstand this, and I can catch you when you're fucking completely spent. It was a really fun fight, really good fight to watch.
Yeah, no Victoria Cross for Mason Jones, but he did get 50K, so he'll accept that, I'm sure.
Fuck yeah. Yeah. All right, well, we'll move along to the next one here, and as we begin this, I gotta say, all apologies to Mick Maynard, because this was as close as we would come to heavyweights on the main card. Mick Maynard loves his fucking heavyweights. Hey, this was the 205-pound pairing of Modestas Bukauskas, a.k.a. Modelo Bukaki, and Paul Craig. They were all set to stink up the place, or at least we thought. The Baltic Gladiator Modi B, a Lithuanian fighter competing out of England, had won 3 in a row after a tumultuous start in the UFC. Craig, approaching 38 years old and sitting on 3 consecutive losses, was in desperate need of a green stripe on his Wikipedia page and some greenbacks in his bank account. Unfortunately for Berju fans, he would leave France with neither of those. Strictly one-way traffic in this one, as Bukauskas ultimately had his way with Craig from bell to bell. And in the end, it would be an errant choice to jump guard that would lead to his untimely demise and his newly announced retirement. In what was one of the more impactful ground and pound strikes I've ever seen, Modi B unleashes a elbow at the horn that lays out the Scotsman. Unable to continue, the referee calls it, and rightfully so. This was a skull-crushing finale, Austin. Quite literally, Modestas delivered that elbow with ill intent, and he sent poor Paul Craig directly to hell. Tell us how nasty it was, and then also, if you wish, any retirement farewell wishes for Paul Craig.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll go to the fight first, right? And the thing is that, like, this is kind of typical of light heavyweight, where you have a young guy. He may have struggled early on in his career, but you kind of see him maturing. And Bukakis is that guy who you're like, all right, he's found a gym. Mouse knows the gym that it is, and Tom also Ante Delija were present. I think Ante Delija also being a part of Tom's camp too. So he's found a home. And that's good. You want a guy who's capable, young enough to redefine his career as a combat sports athlete, to, grow into his own, find his own way. And you're looking at him and you're thinking, okay, he's a young guy in this division that we can count on to be a contender at some point. It's light heavyweight, so he really doesn't need a whole lot. And him being on 4 wins now in a row puts his name in the perspective of a contender. Is he there yet? No, I would say no. No, he's not there. He's on his way, though, because this is Paul Craig. And, man, I don't want to I guess I have to kind of say the things, because I like Paul Craig. I admire his gusto. He's a genuine dude. He doesn't seem like a piece of shit like a lot of the guys that are in combat sports are these days. But he seems like a guy who tries to put an effort into the thing that he's not very good at. And he's out there doing the thing, man. Because like you're looking at him, you're like, why would you jump guard? Why would you do that? And I know his thing is jiu-jitsu, and you look at him because it's not like the fight was going anywhere close to his way. But like, God damn it, man! Like he goes in and he's holding on, and then he doesn't react. You can see him just. Even in the jiu-jitsu that he does, it seems though he kind of struggles to find moments. And that's kind of the thing, like even when you're doing jiu-jitsu or grappling in MMA and you're slow, that tells me you should not be fighting. And he saw the elbow come in, did not move his head, did not brace for it, did not cover for, I mean, you did. That's worse. That's worse because you're like, I'm just accepting this because it's like 3 times in a row, and the last one I think was the worst because you could just see him just like, I'm fucking done. And like, fuck, dude. At least he had the wherewithal to yeah, I don't want to do this. And I think that's the best part about it is that like you can look at a guy like Paul Craig, and I loved his speech. It was very simple, very Paul Craigy. Hey, I fucking tried to do the thing. I no longer can do the thing. You guys have been great to me. It would have been nice for him to get a retirement at home in Scotland, but it doesn't always happen that way. And him getting bludgeoned to death, by Badestis Bukakis, probably is a poetic thing because if you remember correctly, he has a win over Ankalaev. And I think that's the highlight of his career. Getting bludgeoned to death. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. 2 champions. He's beaten 2 champions in this division. That's insane.
It's fucking crazy.
My hat goes off to him because he's doing something that I am not capable of doing. And he tried to do the damn thing, has 2 wins over one current, one former champion in the light heavyweight division. And you can even say, yeah, his career was marred with, ridiculous knockouts and then just not really showing up when he needed to. But that dude at least got to a point where you could say he was competitive with certain fighters and actually got the wins that he needed to. And you can't really take that from him. No one can. Good for him. I hope to never see you fight again, and I hope you enjoy your retirement because you are one of the few dudes that I can always root for. Win, lose, or draw. Congrats, Paul Craig.
Yeah. I just mean, the fight, though. In the fight, I'm pretty sure had he not pulled guard, it seemed like that fight was going to go to a decision. Like it was just going to be a kind of a clinch battle back and forth against the cage, maybe some pitter patter here and there. It probably could have gone to a decision. He probably could have saved himself a devastating knockout, but he decided to jump guard, pull guard. But it is what it is there. I echo a lot of your sentiments about his retirement and his character. Like, Paul Craig always seemed to be a pretty good guy. It's just, I don't know. He's made some weird decisions in his life. Like at some point, shortly after he got the new hairline and the nose ring, he decided that he was going to become a kickboxer and give up on his jiu-jitsu. And then he started getting fucking beat up on the feet. And now he's pulling guard in the last fight of his career and he gets knocked out on the ground. It's just, Paul Craig has such a weird career. Shout out to fucking E. Casey Leiden from MMA Fighting. He made a really good comparison. I didn't fully understand it because I've never played the game, but once he explained it, it made sense to me. He said, have you ever played the game Stratego? I've never played that game, but I've heard of it. He said that Paul Craig is basically the spy in that game, in that board game. And apparently the spy has the ability to kill someone instantly, but they can only kill like the leader, the king or the queen, the best person in the division. Everyone else, 2 through fucking 12, whatever, they get fucking killed by them instantly. But they could take out the fucking top guy in a fucking moment's notice. That's Paul Craig for you. He could beat Jamal Hills. He could beat the Jamal Hills and he could beat the fucking Magomed Ankalaevs, but he just gets obliterated by everyone else. It's the strangest conundrum of a career. Very interesting.
Oh my God.
So shout out to Casey for that.
I listened to it, Casey on that one. I thought it was fun. I never played Stratego either, so. But yeah,
I thought the reference just was fitting so perfectly.
Yeah,
I was like,
sure.
Oh god. But anyway, Mouse, seeing as you're chiming in, he's been training alongside your boy Tommy, like Austin mentioned. He's now on a 4-fight win streak, and he's in a good spot going forward. Talk to us about the fight. And then let us know how you feel about this performance from Modestas Bukauskas. And, of course, if you want to say goodbye to Paul Craig, say goodbye to Paul Craig.
Yeah, well, this was one of those fights that Modestas was my choice for this one. I actually thought it was going to go to about the 3rd round, and then he was going to finish Craig off because Craig is a tough old bastard as well. But no, he did it in the 1st round. I was one of the few people who were screaming, don't finish him. But he did. And as you've already said, he's another guy that trains at Andy Aspinall's gym. Those guys, those heavyweights down there, that is getting to be a very dangerous gym. The problem that we have with it is that all those guys that go and train there, Tom doesn't want to fight. Obviously, it doesn't matter in this fight, but it does on one of the prelims. I'm sure we'll get to that one eventually. And yeah, great performance by Modestus. Can't argue with that. Obviously showed some skill. Like everyone that trains at Tom's gym, they claim to become more dedicated to the sport and cut other interferences out of their lives. And I think that's probably shown. So yeah, great job, Modestus. Nice knockout there, last second, as you said. Paul Craig, a guy is just tough to dislike, but it's very easy to predict losing, or it was, I guess. It won't be anymore. I thought he'd get finished, but not as quickly as he did, as I've already said. And Paul Craig did what we all knew he was going to do, and he pulled guard with about 30 seconds to go. And that just allowed Modestus to get some height and rain down blows. And then, as you said, Lazy, he landed the elbow from hell, christened the Hellbow by somebody on the commentary team, with about a second to go, and Craig was just left dazed and confused, and Mark Goddard stepped in and called it over. He did leave him there for a moment just to check that he wasn't going to get up, so we didn't have another we won't have another Josh Thompson moment about this fight saying, well, you should have given him a chance to recover. No, he had his chance to recover. He was not fucking getting up back to his stool after that. And then, yeah, Berju laid down his gloves in the cage. Absolutely correct decision, I think. Great place to do it. The French and the Scots have often gotten on quite well because they both hate the English. And but no, Paul Craig, he leaves with 100% respect, at least from me. He has those 2 wins against former champions, as you've said, Hill and Ankalaev. And in fact, he's the only man to have a win versus the current light heavyweight champ. No idea what Paul's going to do next, but best of luck to him, whatever it is. Please don't go off to another organisation where you're going to get punched in the head. Go and do some jiu-jitsu or something, maybe something like that. And he's not going to get a commentary job because half of the American audience won't be able to understand him. And probably maybe 10% of the English audience do.
That's so true.
Well, yeah, I was actually going to mention that. Some people calling for him to get a job on commentary. I was thinking more like maybe a job with one of the like BT Sport over there, DangerMouse, one of those outlets that covers MMA. Mm-hmm. They kind of bring on fighters sometimes. It seems like he would fit in really good to that role over there because he does have a very he's got a really marketable personality. Like he's basically
very charismatic.
Yeah, he's kind of like I don't want to make the cliche comparison, but he's basically like MMA Sean Connery, I guess. Oh yeah, all right. Well, that's that on that. But now we start getting to the major meat of this French dip sandwich. It's your co-main event of the evening. 2 ranked athletes towards the tail end of the top 15, one looking to continue righting the ship and the other looking to continue decimating the competition. It was supposed to be guaranteed sanctioned violence when number 13 ranked hometown fighter Benoit Saint-Denis tangled with number 15 ranked fighting nerd Mauricio Ruffy. We last had eyes on BSD back in May when he had a surprisingly tough time with the short notice newcomer Kyle Prepolek, but ultimately he did secure a submission finish. Ruffy, he last graced our screens when he spinning heel kicked the fucking head off of poor Bobby Green in March, the first of 2 back-to-back fighting nerd fights. And the first of 2 fights I almost wish didn't happen. No, I'm joking. But goddamn, fellas, what the hell happened here? I want to give all the credit to Saint Denis, but I would be lying if I didn't say Ruffy seemed off here. He seemed listless, lifeless, whatever adjectives you want to use. Something was not right. That's my personal opinion, but nevertheless, an entirely one-sided shellacking on behalf of the former French Special Forces member. Close to 8 minutes of domination before he ultimately cranked the face off of Mauricio. A big one for BSD that continues to propel him forward in his career after a few slip-ups against top-flight competition. I hate to see a fighting nerd fail. You guys know this, but at least I have the consolation of not having drafted this one. This is the one I didn't draft. DangerMouse, give us your breakdown of the co-main event and the lopsided beatdown of Mauricio Ruffy by Benoit Saint-Denis.
Yeah, well, I made the mistake of being drawn into that fighting nerds hype by you, probably. I'm going to blame you. I have to blame someone. And I kind of wrote off BSD, which is... that's just been very casual fanish of me, because liking a guy until he loses for a couple of times, then abandoning him is a true fight, true casualness in fight fandom. But yeah, firstly, what an entrance for Benoit Saint-Denis. All the crowd stood up, standing for the God of War. And then when they started singing, oh my God, that was just so loud. I actually had to turn my TV down. And I think the commentary said it was about 112 decibels that had recorded it at. Michael Bisping said 125, but the official team said 112. Whatever it was fucking loud. And then in the middle of the fight, we had Herb having to be told by the fighters that a foul had happened. And he stopped it. The video ref confirmed it. But for fuck's sake, this is another mic. Well, fuck's sake, get some balls, Herb. Just make the call yourself. And I shouldn't rant anymore about it, because Mike Heck has already done a better job than I did on SPN's post-fight show, as I'm sure Lazy knows. Yeah, easy first round for Benoit Saint-Denis. Landed a couple of heavy kicks that Din Thomas was quite convinced had caused enough damage to take all the spirit out of him. Yeah, and then he managed to get a hold of Ruffy, and then for most of the round, it was just BSD's world. When Ruffy did finally manage to get top position and escape, very wise decision there. But he did not look confident about re-engaging. And I was waiting for some kind of spinny shit right at the end of the round, and it just never came. And I think a few people in the chat room we were in were commenting like, "Where is it? What happened? Where was the spinning elbow? Where was the spinning heel kick?"
Yeah.
Round two, Ruffy did start off with some striking, but Benoit soon grabbed hold of him and he just manhandled him. Ended up on his back, and then he just face cranked him into tapping. So yeah, great fight by BSD, a fight he very much needed to win. And if that crowd can't inspire you to win, then I think it's time for you to retire, quite honestly. And I did notice that the soon-to-be interviewed on Just Bleed Radio, Brian Campbell, had a celebratory tweet pop up on screen, so he must be a big BSD fan too, allegedly.
I mean, yeah, you made a lot of great points there. But what the fuck was that? Like, where was the offense at all? Like, was Ruffy so shook by the potential threat of BSD's wrestling that he just froze up completely? Because, like, did he hit him at all in that first round? Did he land a single strike? I haven't looked at the numbers.
I haven't checked the stats.
I believe he did.
I bet you it was single digits. It had to be fucking single digits. There's no way. Because, like, I don't remember one significant strike in that entire first round for him. I barely remember him throwing any strikes. It was constantly on the back foot, constantly skirting, and not in a good way, not cutting angles and returning fire or not. It was just befuddling. Like, he looked so unlike himself. Very disappointing. And he, like, setting aside my biases and my love for the Fighting Nerds camp, a lot of people fucking hate him. They got a ton of haters out there now that are really
Mauricio Ruffy landed 5 of 17 significant strikes.
yeah, I bet he did. That's
and
generous.
6 of 18 total.
Yeah, that's fucking generous.
He landed one strike in the first round.
Yeah. See, I mean, I don't know. Just something did not seem right, because it was almost like as though he wasn't there. But I'm not going to keep harping on here, because I'm sure I'm going to have something else to say by the time Austin gets done. So, Austin, I saw you, sir. You had yourself a good little chuckle on the Discord there, didn't you? You had a good old giggle at my expense. and I had another horrendous night of picks. I did so fucking bad, but neither here nor there. What takeaways did you have from BSD opening a can of whoop ass on Ruffy? Yeah. Yuck it up.
To be fair, I did pick Ruffy. That was the thing, is that I picked him, and I assumed Ruffy was going to go out there and actually put on like a better striking performance than what we got. I just figured it would be a little bit of a closer fight. And what ended up happening, I think, is that Ruffy got an adrenaline dump. I don't think he's ever been in a stadium that's cheered that loud against him. I think that is I'm assuming, now, Mouse, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't believe that BSD has ever like put on the most exciting performance at home. I think he's always been like that dude that just kind of like drapes himself over his opponents when he's fighting in France. And usually sometimes, I mean, the one time I think we can look at was like the fight that he had with Moicano, where Moicano beat the shit out of him in the first round. And then all Moicano was able to do was kind of throw a jab and a kick in the second round, because his entire right shoulder was dislocated at that point, if you remember correctly. All BSD had to do was tackle him, and he probably would have won via injury, fucking TKO, and that's it. But, you know, they called the fight because he couldn't fucking see. It's neither here nor there. But in this case, it's like BSD looked like a Ben Askren of old, and just draping himself over his opponent and just not allowing him to breathe. It kind of reminded me a little bit of either Ben Askren versus Andre Kreshkov at one point, or Khabib versus Conor. Because it's like there was an adrenaline dump that Ruffy had almost immediately, and you could see him just kind of like, shit, this guy's going to wrestle me. And it may have been that he probably wasn't prepared for how often he was going to get wrestled or the wrestling pressure. That's what it looked like. That looked like a guy who's like, yeah, I kind of don't really like to grapple. I would prefer to stand and look, fancy, like a capoeira fighter, which he looks like. He looks like that dude that's like, yeah, this is good. The stuff on the ground is not something I'm willing to do. I'm going to just stay up here and kind of do my own thing. Except you forget that they need to remember what that is so that when they get in that position, they don't freak out. And unfortunately, it's not that he freaked out. He just forgot what to do. Because the minute BSD kind of wrapped his arms around him, even against like the cage where he's just not really doing a whole lot and he's holding pressure against Ruffy was just like, shit, I don't want to be here. This kind of sucks. Everyone's cheering against me. He's not going to do anything to me. And then he gets picked up and put on his back, and you're like, shit, he wasn't ready for that. And you could tell because the minute that he was trying to come up when BSD got that face crank, you could see he's like, oh, fuck, shit, okay, like he got me, fuck. Like he wasn't ready for it. And that's the thing. This was the test that I was speaking about a while back. Like, because we knew how good John Silva was, how good Prates was, how good, the rest of the fighting nerds are, especially in the main event that we're going to talk about. Like, you knew that they were capable. This is what we needed to see, though, some pushback. Now that we've had some pushback from Prates, and he's come back from that since, if this is Ruffy's pushback, Jean Silva might have his come, UFC Noche. And in the main event, there was some more pushback. Like this is good, but not in the good sense. Like this is what they needed. They probably needed this sooner, but unfortunately now, because lightweight is such a shark tank of a division, this is where you were like, okay, well, had he faced a wrestler who was willing to just push the pace on him from the get-go, because BSD was like striking, but his game was just, no, I'm just going to take you down. I'm going to smother the shit out of you. You're not going to do anything. I'm going to just take you into the I'm going to take you out into the ocean and drown you. And you're not going to do anything about it. That's what happened. It's a tough learning lesson for Ruffy. And 5 points, Lazy. 5 fucking points.
Hey, not from this one, from the next one.
Before you jump in, Lazy, I'll just do a quick thing. You brought up his Benoit Saint-Denis performances in France. He beat Gabriel Miranda by TKO punches. That was a performance of the night. His next fight in Paris was against Thiago Moises, again TKO punches. Fight of the night. The fight that we all remember him for, I think, is the one against Matt Frivola, where he got the KO head kick, the spinning head kick, just as Frivola was dancing away around the cage. That was New York. And then his next fight in Paris was against Moicano. That's the one he lost. And then, of course, he won last night. So, yeah, he actually has a very, very good record in France and 4 exciting fights there. So, yeah, he did definitely smother the Ruffy in this one, though. And I don't blame him for a minute. That guy's a lethal striker. Why the fuck would you want him on his feet? Doing spinny shit and throwing punches at you from all angles. Take the bastard down. Yeah, smother him. Kill him. That's what Sander needed to do, and that's what he did.
Yeah, I mean, in his post-fight speech, he basically said, like, exactly that. Like, we watched this guy's tape. We saw he couldn't do this thing, so we did that thing, and that's how we won. Like, yeah, that's how it pretty much went down. And Ruffy can bounce back from this. This is only his second career loss. He's still fucking young in the game. Maybe not the youngest as a man, but he's still young in the game. Plenty of time to return from this. And I actually like a bit of adversity for this gym. I think they were too much success can breed bad habits. So I think that them experiencing some of this adversity as a team, as a whole, recently, it could be a good thing for them going forward, because that's the only way you're going to improve in this game. And hey, we'll see how it pans out for him. But, you know, a big win for BSD, who takes out a hot commodity that a lot of people were strapping a rocket to. So he wants to fight at MSG in November. That's what he was calling for. I'm not sure who you matchmake him with, but I think there are some. Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. I think there are some names you float around, and Michael Chandler's at the top of the list. So could see.
Boo! No.
I would watch
Fuck Chandler. Chandler does not deserve anything.
Yeah, but do you think Chandler beats him? I don't. I think BSD probably tunes him up.
The other fun one I heard, that was again I think on SBN, Gaethje, Justin Gaethje.
I don't know if Gaethje takes that.
No. BSD versus oh god damn it, what's his name? Yes, thank you. Mateus Gamrot,
who was in attendance yesterday afternoon at the show. He was there. Yeah, it could be. I mean, there's just so many possibilities for him moving forward. He put himself back in the conversation, and that's the most important thing. And Marisa Rufi, back to the drawing board. See what happens. All right, finally, gents, last bout of the main card for us to get to, and it was the main event. Clear and evident middleweight title implications. Top 10 ranked fighters in a 185-pound tilt with JBR draft stakes. Ugh. Surging sniper Nassourdine Imavov, and a lead pupil of the Fighting Nerds Fight School, Caio Borralho. One half of this equation would be the number 7 ranked Caio Borralho, also known as the lead nerd in the herd. At 32 years old, Borralho stepped in on a 16-fight win streak, having not lost since his second pro bout a decade ago in 2015. Couple factors to keep in mind here being the over-year-long layoff between fights and the 2 weight cuts in 3 fucking weeks that Caio put himself through. You goddamn moron, you stupid fucking idiot. I can't believe you did it. Anyway, the other half, a number 2 ranked middleweight, Nassourdine Imavov, he made the walk on a 4-fight win streak, having most recently finished Izzy back in February. Still just 29 and entering his prime. There seemed to be many on the sniper's squad as we entered Saturday night. Would he be able to win in convincing enough fashion to make himself undeniable? No, he would not. But the cheese-eating surrender monkey, hey, I stole that from DangerMouse, he would make me eat my words, at least. It was the second of 2 flat performances from one of my favorite squads and a huge letdown for my fantasy team. Instead of me walking away with the 35 points I had hoped for, I walked away with next to nothing, and Borralho walked away with a handful of 50-45s going against him. Tough scenes. Was it a game plan issue from one of the most strategic gyms around? Not so much. I don't think so. Nor do I think that they underestimated Imavov. Personally, I think Nassourdine he had an awesome performance, and I think that Caio had a terrible one. I downplayed it all week in an effort to keep the faith, but that weight cut for a meaningless backup fighter role was such a boneheaded move. That was so fucking dumb. Like, you're preparing for the most important fight of your fucking life just weeks away, and you're going to cut fucking weight for nothing, for a paycheck. Like, come on, man. Come on. That's for the fighting nerds. That was a fucking completely buffoon decision. I can't believe it. Anyways, enough from me. Let's hear from you both. No special. We're going to have you get the first crack at this. Tough night for the nerds. It was a tough night for the fucking nerds, but it was a hell of a night for French MMA. So how'd you view the performances of both men in this main event? And do you think that Imavov secured himself a title shot, or do we wait to see what happens between Fluffy and RDR?
Well, first, they went 5-0 on the night, which is great. Vive la France. The thing that you have to remember too is that I don't think it's just the weight cut. I think that he thought he can actually strike with Nassourdine, which is not out of the point, of him being able to. It's just you looked at the way Nassourdine fights. Like, I know there's a couple people who will remember, but Gegard Mousasi, nonchalant, pretty deadly accurate when he wants to be, but he's not going to just go after everything. He's like that baseball player who doesn't like fucking swing at every pitch who comes his way. It's going to be when he wants to hit and he knows he's going to get on base, he'll swing. And that's what Nassourdine is. Nassourdine is that dude who's just, that's why they call him the sniper. He's going to go after the openings that he knows he's going to get something in return, even if he gets clipped a little bit for it, because that happened a couple of times with some counters. Nassourdine kept the ring generalship of the fight in his side. He had no worries that was coming at him that he wasn't prepared for. And even when he did get hit, he was like, yeah, it is what it is. I got hit, but I'm going to hit you back twice as hard and I'll make you look stupid for it. And he kept Caio coming and just willingly putting the pressure on him just enough. And there'd be times where I was getting annoyed by it, where he would be like, I can throw this elbow. I'm in your guard. You would have been hit by this elbow, but I'm not going to throw this elbow. I'm going to just throw a jab. And I'm going to throw a 1-2. And I'm going to throw a leg kick. And then I'm going to circle around and I'm going to keep my fingers out, which happened a couple of times. Actually,
Sure
got behind
did. Sure fucking did.
I don't think it was going to be the thing that affected the fight. I think the problem was that Caio just willingly accepted the exchanges. Caio is not a natural striker. We know that. Caio is a decent grappler. He's actually very capable as a grappler. I didn't see a whole lot of grappling that was successful to that night. So that's kind of the thing where I'm like, okay, well, as a fighting nerd, Jim, are they primarily just, okay, let's take the best assets of that fighter and then build upon that? Or are we just we encompass what we do and we don't really bring in anything else? Because that's what that looked like. Because you're like, okay, well, Caio's been the guy who's been the best grappler of the four of the guys who are looking to be names in their divisions, right? He was the one that you said that we could have said like he's the closest one to get to a title fight, and this was his chance. Unfortunately, he fell in this endeavor. And he wasn't like a terrible. I'll say this: it wasn't a terrible showing for Caio. He looked in shape. He looked ready. He just looked a step behind. And that's to say, like, he faced someone who was going to actually push back, who was in, because I think, too, he's faced younger competition in this division. Middleweight is all of a sudden, like, becoming the division of the UFC, where you're seeing a ton of names, a ton of value in the names, and a ton of, like, champions fighting each other. And that's great. And you're looking at the lower echelon of the division, and you're thinking, like, okay, Caio kind of went through them without too much of a hassle. And he struggled against Cannonier. And, I mean, he hasn't looked the most impressive on the feet. And I think that was the thing that we all kind of looked at is like, okay, well, if his best chance is probably on the mat, kind of tiring him out. Hell, Brandon Allen even took him to the mat a handful of times. Yes, he lost, but like that was probably a better plan than the plan that we had. For some reason, he had it in his head, and his corner didn't really help him either. You're looking at him, and you're like, why aren't you going for the grappling more aggressively? Why are you trying to exchange in a kickboxing fight that you're clearly losing it? Why are we trying to act like you are the better striker? You are not. For some reason, they convinced themselves that they were. And Nassourdine just ate that up. And the other thing, too, is that Nassourdine felt like he just allowed the fight to play out instead of taking command of the fight. He was in control, but he didn't really usher as much control as he could have. He didn't look for the finish on a regular basis. He just kind of took it when it came to him and didn't really press on past that point. And to Nassourdine's credit, he won the fight because of it. You know, I don't know how it would have changed if that was, let's say, you know, Hard Knocks himself, Dracus Duplessis, but, you know, no one knows how to fight Dracus because he's a fucking giraffe with really powerful hands. Anywho.
Still knocks.
Still knocks, thank you. That better say. I don't know where I got the other one from. I think that's the thing, too. We're looking at this fight and thinking, like, this is probably the two best guys in the division. And that's good. You know, Caio's still going to be considered one of the best guys in the division. You know, I don't think this hurts him too bad. He might need to get another 3 wins to get back here, but, you know, he's still there. He's within contention. Nassourdine should be next for the title fight to begin with, and I think he's earned that. I don't need to look at what happens with Fluffy and RDR. I think Nassourdine is the guy right now, but that's just me.
Going on the pure meritocracy stance, you know, that's what you're basing that on.
If I don't go on meritocracy, I will listen to fucking 500 people tell me, oh, it should be RDR or it should be somebody else because they just got 1 win. Okay, right. Whatever, guys.
I respect the morality of your decision making there and sticking to the rankings and actually giving the rankings a fucking purpose. I can respect that, yeah. But at the same time, I don't know, man. If Fluffy or RDR pulls off something amazing, it's going to be interesting. But
also 5 points.
Yeah. My 5 points. Yeah. I'm still fucking number 1 by a long shot, baby. By a long shot.
We'll see about
that. Back on topic, though, and before we pass it to DangerMouse, I got to touch on real quickly the 2 things that you mentioned there. The fucking fouls. I'm so glad you brought up the fucking fouls. Eye poke, dick kick, eye poke. Actually, double eye poke. A finger in the eye and a finger up the fucking nose. Those are Nassourdine's fouls in a row. No fucking point taken. No point. On not even on that final one, that double poke. You don't even fucking take a point there. No, you fucking hard warning them. Oh yeah, the good old hard warning. These fucking refs are a joke. I think that, you know, Caio would have still lost the fight even without the fouls, but you gotta fucking take a point after the goddamn 3rd fucking infraction. All right, well, we're gonna pass the DangerMouse. I need to fucking stop talking. So, posing the same thing back to you, Danger. Is Imavov next in line now to face Boers, or are we looking more closely at a Fluffy versus the Ritter now? Like, is that looking a little bit more enticing and a little bit more appealing for the next challenger for this middleweight title? And then, you know, also let's hear your thoughts on the performances of Caio and Nassourdine on a whole.
Yeah, this was just a tough fight to pick. All that fighting nerds hype and their success rate as well. And then, but we did have Caio coming in after that weight cut 2 weeks ago, as you've already said, Lazy. And then he was bouncing between time zones, presumably following his teammates around for fights. And all that time, Nassourdine Imavov had been in the gym, eating right, sleeping right, training right, doing everything right. And so I can't say that Caio gift-wrapped this fight for Imavov, but he certainly threw it in a brown paper bag with all those decisions. And in a sport that depends on you being at your absolute prime, you do not want to help the guy out in any way at all, and he certainly did with his decisions in this one. And I could say this was a bit of a mean pick for me because of the draft, but I won't. I know it wasn't. I just thought that Imavov was the more experienced. He had enough takedown defense to stop that part of Caio's game. And as Austin said, you don't have a nickname like a sniper without having some skills at striking. And he was just too fast, much faster than Caio. He doesn't like to spend a lot of time in the pocket, but he's very dangerous there. He doesn't get rattled. He maintains his composure and his accuracy. And in the fight, he had great movement. He was cutting off the cage very nicely, forcing Caio to be where he wanted him to be. In round 3, he rattled Caio, and then that was the round we had the nut shot on the eye poke. Friendly exchange of fouls there. By the end of round 5, we had Caio's corner telling him that he needed the finish, which is honest of them because he bloody well did at that point. And then later in that round, we just had Goddard begging Imavov not to foul. He was going like, please, please don't foul, which I get. He doesn't want to get involved, but for fuck's sake, man, you have to start taking points. Not a super exciting fight, I wouldn't say. In fact, I did fall asleep in the middle of it, and I had to rewatch it today. I woke up when they were talking to Kyle, but I did realise that he'd lost even then. He did make a comment about not having any adrenaline, and I think that may well be linked to the weight cutting, and that's my completely amateur opinion, but I don't believe I'm going to be alone in that one. So, yeah, great job by Nassourdine Imavov. Not so good job by Cal Borralho. I don't think Imavov's going to get the next title shot. He deserves it. Can't deny that whatsoever. But I think if the other two guys offer a better chance at beating Hamzat, so I think one of them, as long as they don't have a completely dull fight, one of them's probably going to get the next shot. So, yeah, there we go.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. And I also agree with the weight cut affecting the adrenaline take. I've heard many people in the MMA media space echo that same thought, including Luke Thomas and several others. Like, cutting weight twice within that short of a span of time definitely affects your endocrine system and your adrenaline and your testosterone levels, and it's just terrible decision making. And then Austin, I remembered the other thing that I wanted to touch on that you brought up, and I actually want to give credit to a JBR Discord member and also frequent listener, Greg Gidley, Double G, who he brought up what you brought up, Austin, and he said this on Discord. I can already hear Luke shitting on the Fighting Nerds coach for only giving the instruction to make it dirty. Like, what kind of cornering is that? That's fucking like. That's not even instruction. Like, you got to make it dirty. You got to get in there and make it an ugly, dirty fight. Oh, thanks, boss. Appreciate that. Like, that's why I pay you the big bucks. Like, this is really why we flew around the world to fucking take this fight, was for you to tell me I need to make it dirty. Like, obviously I fucking do.
Yeah, because you think about it and you're thinking to, like, what the mindset is at that point. I think the fact that they thought they could have a competitive, if not winning game in the striking department in a kickboxing bout against a well-rounded striker kind of pushes the point home where it's like, well, if you guys thought you could only, like, win dirty now, why weren't you doing it to begin with? But I don't know. It's just kind of funny to me, is all.
Like, did you figure it out within the first round? Like, okay, game plan A isn't really working. It's time to get dirty and switch things up a little bit. Like you said, like, cycle through, make changes, like, give him coaching on the fly. Like, hey, this ain't working. Start switching to the wrestling. You need to circle around for the fucking single leg and, get a hip, like, whatever the case is. Like, you're the Fighting Nerds, bro. Like, your whole fucking thing is, we're the game planners. You can't outsmart a nerd. Like,
people judge you differently than they did in high school.
Yeah, well, this time it was computer says no.
Computer says no.
Which I think.
Well, the other thing too is that I think they've always been the front runners, of their fights. Where the odds may have been whatever they've been, and the pre-fight, lead up has always been like, whatever. But in the fights, they've always maintained this air of dominance. Didn't matter who the opponent was. They usually kept the consistency of being the guys in control of the fight, running downhill on their opponents. The only couple of times that we saw some pushback was, Caio against a little bit of Cannonier, and then a little bit of John Silva when he fought Bryce. But even then, that wasn't nearly that bad. I mean, shit. Like, Prates himself, had the Ian Gary fight after going 4-0 with finishes. Waited until the last fucking 30 seconds to put, Gary in a awkward dog position and nearly finished him because of it. But, yeah, neither here nor there. I think this is the one time where we can look at their camp and think, okay, they're not used to having competitive fights. Now that they are having competitive fights, we're seeing who they are, and sometimes they're going to struggle. That's normal for any camp, but they don't seem to have a consistency of pushing themselves past the point of being the front runners. So this is good for them, but they do have a lot of shit to work on.
Yeah. Yeah, like I said, I think the final thing that I'm going to say on this, and we'll leave it on, is I think this could be a really good learning experience for these guys and for that gym. And I think that if they are who we think they are, they're going to bounce back from this, and they're going to be a much improved version of who they already were. So let's see how things shake out with that. But anyway, that's enough whining about the main card. Why don't we start cheesing over some of these prelims, huh? All right. With no shortage of fun fights to choose from, but a hard limit on recording length, it's time for the best of the rest. All right, Mouse Man. Let's hear from you first, DM. Give us your favorite preliminary bout from this night in Paris.
It has to be a welterweight bout. Sam Patterson defeating Trey Waters, TKO punches, round 1, 3 minutes and 1. But I was so disappointed in this fight because I wanted a first round sub, and Sam had to go and KO Trey. So yeah, obviously I'm joking. Fantastic performance by Sam, fighting a taller guy than him for the very first time, I would imagine. They said they've been training with Leon, but with the longest streak of first-round KOs in the UFC at the moment, he must be taking finish from either Tom Aspinall or Miguel Dakota. Absolutely fantastic finish. I think it all started with a right hook. Then there was another hook, but from the left at that time, and just hunted him down. And I did watch the finish at quarter speed, and it was just so good. I well recommend it to anyone. Go back and watch that few seconds of it. Because Trey would just get hit by a straight right, he'd cover up and then step away, and Sam just followed him. And then every time Trey peeked out from his defense, Sam was just there blasted him with another straight right. It was all just so perfectly timed, absolutely fantastic to watch. And from his own lips, he said, we figure them out and then we take them out. And that's exactly what he did. I'm glad he was given a bonus for that fight. Very well deserved. Fantastic fight for English martial arts. So yeah, brilliant, great job. Easily my favourite KO of the prelims, and there were many.
Yeah. Actually, it was mine too. So I was going to go to Austin here, but I'm going to slide myself in because that was also my selection for prelim of the night. Although there was many to choose from. That one just stuck out to me. Got to highlight the lanky man. You know, that's what John Gooden calls him, the lanky man, Sam Patterson. Like you said, DangerMouse, fucking just whipped Trey Waters here. This was a pairing, actually, of the number 1 and number 2 tallest active welterweights in the UFC, with Sam being the second and Trey being the first. That's what a fucking stat that is. But yeah, man, what the career development since making the move up to 170 for Sam, because he did have his start down at 155 and got sparked against who was, I think, Yanal Ashmuz or someone like that. I can't even remember. But yeah, got laid out at 155, made the move up to fucking 170, has had a great career turnaround and resurgence since. And who the hell knew this guy had hands like that? Like, he now also has the longest active first round finish streak in the UFC with 4. This was also the 8th first round finish in his career. So Sam, man, an unassuming killer who he looks like a bird and he fights like a beast. Like, that's the best way I can describe him. He's got that long neck and the fucking beak nose. He looks like a bird and he fights like a beast. So love to see him getting the W, and can't wait to see more going forward. And Austin, that leaves you to go last here. Let's hear your selection for favorite undercard matchup.
Well, I was gonna go for the. I might as well do a quick shout out to Fernandez I can't. How do you say his name? Against the. Yes. Hardwick as well. I'm going to be honest, man. I just felt like that fight probably just didn't need to happen, but it happened. And my dude crawled over at the end of the fight to congratulate the winner. And the butt scoot was just hilarious because the fucking guy couldn't stand it. It looked like someone took a bat, those metal bats, and just beat the shit out of his legs because he owed him money or some shit. Because, hey, God forbid, man. It's like he landed a couple of shots in the boxing exchanges, but he just did not know how to handle the leg kicks. Granted, his opponent was killing him with every leg kick that he threw. But it is what it is. Funny fight. But my main fight was is going to be Sam Hughes getting a finish and looking like a contender at 115 in the opening bout against Shauna Bannon. Now, I'm going to be honest. I didn't look at Bannon and thought that she was this uber prospect that people were kind of looking at her as. She's got this basic Taekwondo style, and she knows how to throw a kick like a jab for some reason, even though it doesn't really look like it's effective. And she kind of like has this posture of, I don't know how to defend takedowns when it really happens. I'm just going to know a little bit of grappling, and then maybe I'm going to get, a random finish if someone decides to jump in my guard after nearly knocking me out on the feet and jumping into my guard and then allowing me to get the submission. That's all she really knows. And the game plan of Sam Hughes was, nah, bitch, I'm not going to let you kind of get your kicking game on. I'm just going to take you down and smother you and look for the submission. And that's what she did. And she's been doing good at doing that. She's been this like hardworking, really basic game type of girl who's, she doesn't really look like a contender, but she's showing out a game plan that's hard to kind of beat in this division. It's 115. There's not a ton of contenders. It's not as stacked as it once was, but it looks like she's becoming that. And I'm, hey, credit where credit is due. If you can find a way to, get yourself to a title fight and not a whole lot of people can stop you from doing it, by all means, I'm interested to see how far she goes until she faces someone who's willing to kick her legs out or just, bludgeon her to death. I don't think that's going to be the case. We'll see. But, it's interesting to see someone you didn't really expect to be a contender all of a sudden become one.
Yeah. And first time in Sam's career, she was the favorite.
No, wow. I'm gonna have to mention another couple because this was too good a god not to. We had a heavyweight Ante Delaju who defeated Marcin Tybura, and obviously another guy out of the Aspinall gym, which great to see another fighter at heavyweight, but unfortunately we know that Tom won't want to fight him. And we have to give a shout out to our editor Dave for being the only one on the Discord to pick Renat Fakhridinov against Andreas Gustafsson, who said he has 1% talent and 99% hard work. But that formula does seem to be working for him. So, yeah, very nice job there. I think it was straight right that hurt Andreas at the start, and then it caused him to start backing off. Renat just smelled blood, and he ended up with a very, very nice TKO win. So, yeah, great job by him.
Yeah, Gustafsson, the same guy that said Sean Strickland is a scholar, and he posted on his Instagram story before this fight that his game. The guy. Yeah, he posted on Instagram before this fight that his game plan was to go, quote, full retard. Yeah, it looked like he did, buddy. It looked like he did.
He needs to go to Sean. He needs to go to Sean and learn some defense, I think.
Oh, God, he needs to go to prison.
Although to be fair, Nixick didn't have a good night, did he? Anyway, because he lost with Brad Tavares.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, but I also gotta say shout out to fucking. God, Caio Fernandez, who just kicked the fucking leg off of poor Harry Hardwick.
I love a leg kick finish, but that's so brutal.
Me and DangerMouse both selecting Harry here. I was pretty familiar with him from his Cage Warriors time. He's a fucking hard-nosed guy. Like that's his whole thing. Like gets beat up and keeps fighting like a Mason Jones almost. Like I'm gonna outlast you. Yeah. Well, I will give him the slight excuse that this was like a 4 days notice fight. He was taking it off the couch, up a weight class. But still, man, like that was one of the most pathetic fucking showings I've ever seen in a debut. Ever. And I said it on MCM. Go ahead, Mouse.
I was going to say send to Thailand of 3 years forget.
Yeah. Well, I said it in MCM chat. Like after I seen him not check the first the 2 kicks, I was like, oh, his leg's toast. Like, look at his leg; it's already fucking red. And then bang, 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 just chopped him down like a fucking tree. And first guy ever to be wheelchaired out of the octagon.
Yep.
There's been stretchers. There's been people carried. There's never been a wheelchair.
Hey. I believe people were memeing that within seconds of it happening as well.
Oh yeah. Poor guy. I mean, what are you gonna do?
Not much you can.
All right. Well, we got to move it along here. Regular listeners will know what comes next. But if you're new around these parts, I'll tell you. Every week at the end of each card, we like to look back at what we witnessed and slap a number on it from 1 to 10, 1 being the lowest and 10 being the highest. You know what time it is. It's time to rate that card. All right, we'll flip-flop the order of you two from the last segment, and that means, Austin, you are up first. Hit us with your final thoughts and put a rating on the chaos that we saw at Fight Night Paris.
Well, gymnastics score, shout out to AK. We're looking at a 10, right off the bat, just because that's the most you can go. You minus a point for the fouls occurring in the night. And not the worst thing, but they were prevalent. I don't think fight-ending fouls is their correct term, but they were not fight-altering neither. Just fouls are present. Whenever fouls are kind of like the thing of the night, you kind of notice a trend. That takes a point off. Another point, Ruffy not really showing up. It's kind of disappointing. Not gonna lie. That's another point gone. We're down 8. The fact that I forgot that the fights were live. Shout out to the meme I posted on the Discord. I'm late for work. That's another point. That makes me sad.
In a row, I believe.
Yeah, it's like I can't help. What am I supposed to do? I can't pay attention all the time. I have shit to do. Right. Hey, I we were down to 7, right? And we're gonna add another point for the fact that all the finishes on the prelims were just fun to watch. Yeah, I don't think you could have watched the prelim card and not had fun watching it. Main card is kind of there, so I'm going to leave it at a 7.5 for me. I enjoyed everything about it. Whenever we go outside into another country, especially a country like France, and they show up in droves to watch their people fight and all of them go and win, they went 5-0 this week. Hey, you can't go wrong. 7.5 for me.
It's not bad. Not bad at all. I kind of expected you to be a little more generous, to be honest. I thought you were going to give it a higher score.
I'm sat here in stunned silence.
Yeah, I was wondering what's going on here.
I couldn't. To be fair, I think I watched it back late, so that's on me. I missed all the prelims. So when I watched it, I was watching the main card live. I was like, oh god, I missed everything.
Yeah, I was looking back at what I've written down here for my notes on my score for it, and I was thinking I better double check the strain I was smoking, because apparently this strain makes me really fucking happy because I was super generous. All right, DangerMouse, another trip to Gay Perry. Did you enjoy yourself on this record-tying card, or were you somehow bored to sleep early by a French lullaby?
Well, I've already admitted that I did that. Even so, a card like this just doesn't happen very often. In fact, it's only the 3rd time we've had this kind of result, this level of finishes. Taking into account all the stats, well, with a record 9 KOs in a night, this card just has to be given at least a 9. But I'm not just going to go for something so simple. So there were 9 KOs and 11 total finishes. So I think you should know where I'm going with this.
Uh-oh.
It's a 9.11 for me. 9/11 all the way. Shout out MK.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
BC, we're coming for you, brother.
Fucking Paris.
we're stealing your skits and your bits, and we're making you come on the show.
Oh my fucking god.
I mean,
god damn it.
We're not going to have another show before 9/11, so technically that's DangerMouse's 9/11 tribute right there.
What time me Fred did in the meme?
Okay, let me pull myself together. Yeah, all right. That leaves just me to put a bow on this here card. Hey man, France. I don't love you. You're not my favorite. I don't love your people. The biggest fan of your culture. Eiffel Tower's all right. I think your cheese stinks. Your wine is bitter. Eating snails is really disgusting. That's super gross. But I'll be goddamned if you bastards aren't the most electrifying crowd in sports entertainment. God damn, you guys go crazy. The singing, the fucking cheering. I'm pretty sure if you were allowed to have flares, you'd have been lighting off fucking torches in there. It would have been just absolute pandemonium. And it was pandemonium. Every single time the UFC comes to town, they raise the roof with their volume. You said it earlier, DangerMouse. I'm going to say it again, literally hitting 112 decibels during the BSD finish. Like that's NFL like stadium numbers with 3-4 times the amount of people, which is fucking insane. Phenomenal work from the crowd. You factor in the fights themselves. We'd be fools not to believe that they didn't help to propel this card to tying the record for most finishes on a single event. So the momentum was rolling, the arena was roaring, and it was all wrapped up by 6 p.m. I could hate on my draft pick losing, but I won't hate on it. I'm giving this card its just due, and I can't give it any worse than a 9. I can only dock 1 point for the William Gomi fight. I'm giving it a 9.
Okay, so I'm kind of stunned now that I've heard it. But, all right. I'm not sure if I've missed something, but
You'll have to come back next week and rewatch it by the end of next week.
Yeah, there you go. You need to do that apparently.
You're gonna have to revise your score post-op.
You should have done what I did if you'd only seen half the fight. Just scored half the fight.
It was good. There was a lot of, like, Michael Bisping, he put out a fucking video with the thumbnail and said, best UFC card ever. Yeah. Big bold letters. Josh Thompson, Big Josh, calling it card of the year. A couple of the MMA fighting guys. People loved this event. Austin.
You're not wrong. I enjoyed the event. I just felt like the 7.5 was appropriate for some reason.
For the two finishes, for the two non-finishes that happened.
Don't. You know what? Yeah, fine. Fair enough. I can't really argue against it, but
we know.
Fucking guy.
We gotcha.
All right, guys. Well, it is just about 4:20 in actual time, so I think this is as good of a place to wrap this up as any, because we got some things to get to in a Sunday night scuffle to record. So that's going to do it for us. That's all things UFC Paris wrapped and recapped. But guess what? Next week we continue with the international flair. Sort of, as we kick off UFC Noche from San Antonio, Texas. Not Guadalajara, Mexico. San Antonio, Texas. Let's go. Big stakes in the main event of that one, at least for the JBR draft and the featherweight division. And so I must say once more, before you go, hit that like button and tell a friend about the channel. We appreciate each and every one of you. Until we meet again, I've been LazyBed. They've been Austin and DangerMouse. We are Just Bleed Radio, and we're getting the fuck out of here. Later,
guys. We did it. Yeah.
Howard Dean. We're going to the White House. We're going to Wisconsin.
This is a great skit.
Worst can't be better than that, Alex. Well, they've got a very good base section line. They're top talents, that's for sure.
Can I have a word with the manager?
Computer says no.